Today I'm going to tell you all about what I say to the parents when they come to parent orientation. I'm going to go through my Canva presentation and go over each thing and tell you why I say it. I have a template for my Canva presentation, so you can use the same one to build off and edit with your own information for your school and for your classroom. If you want to know how I prepare for parent orientation, I have a video on that and I'll link it below. And then also, if you want to know how to edit the Canva template to make it your own, or you want to know how to use Google Slides to make your own parent orientation presentation, I'll have a video on that coming up. So if you're not tech savvy, that's all to help you. But today, it's all about what I tell the parents. So let's get started. Okay, if you watch my How to Prepare for Parent Orientation video, you'll know that I have my class roster up right when parents walk in the door. That way they know they're in the right spot. If your school has multiple kindergarten classrooms, sometimes they end up in the wrong class. So as they're walking in, I have everybody's names up on the board. That way they know where they're going. Welcome to kindergarten! The next slide, I just have my name and a few pictures of myself. I don't really have any words here. I don't think it's necessary because they all come out of my mouth. I'm like, Miss Jordan, I've been teaching kindergarten for 8 years, blah, blah, blah. Or if you're a new teacher, you could say, Miss Jordan, this is my first year teaching kindergarten. I graduated from wherever, and I did my student teaching in 1st and 2nd grade, but kindergarten's always been my dream, so I'm so happy to be here. I have a piece of paper on all of the parents' desk for them to take notes on. I don't hand out any of the handouts or the forms beforehand because I want them paying attention to me. I talk about that a lot in my How to Prepare for Parent Orientation video. So on this slide, it just reminds me to let them know what that piece of paper is for, that they can take any notes or write down any questions that they have and save them for the end. Then I also let them know that I will hand out a piece of paper that has all the key points from the presentation at the end. The next thing that I do is I let the parents know what my goals are when their child comes to school. This, I feel like, helps them know that I'm on their team and that I'm there for their child. I explain that I want their child to be safe and I want their child to be happy. And after those two things are taken care of, I want them to be learning. And then I also talk about if your child's not feeling safe when they go to school or you think that there's something wrong, please contact me as soon as possible so we can remedy that. And then the same thing for being happy. If they don't like coming to school, please let me know so that we can try and fix that. The next slide, we kind of have a different schedule at the beginning of the year to help the students transition, and the parents are always very curious about that. So I put it right at the beginning because that's what all of their questions are about. So I just get it out of the way. That way, hopefully I can have all of their attention when I explain the other things. Next, I go into drop off and pick up. And just like how I explained why I do the beginning of the year schedule right at the beginning of the presentation, before I talk about drop off and pick up for parents that come to the classroom or come to the school, I address the after school program and the bus, because while I'm explaining about parents that come for drop off and pick up, the parents that do after school program and the bus, they're going to have questions about that. They're going to think that I forgot about it. So I address it right away before I go into if you're physically coming in to drop your child off. Okay, drop off. If your parents are allowed on campus and they're able to come to the door, I explain how it's best to do a quick goodbye and how they're not allowed in the classroom so that the child can learn that they do school by themselves. I don't never allow my parents in the classroom. I want them to see where their child is. I want them to feel comfortable about their child coming to school. But when they come to drop their child off, especially at the beginning of the year, I don't allow them inside, or else the child's gonna think that they want them to stay all day long. So I explain you have to say goodbye at the door and please don't linger. I also explain they might be crying, they might be kicking and screaming, but don't worry, I've done it before and we will be able to handle it. I know it's hard, but a lot of times once the parents leave, then they recover quicker. Pick up. The big thing that I explain here is that I am happy to talk with them after school. They just need to wait until the majority of students go home. That's my big thing. They're trying to talk to me. I'm trying to make sure that the child doesn't just run off with somebody that they see, that they know, walking past outside, because they have yet to learn that they go home with a specific person, not just their neighbor that they see walking outside. And so parents are coming up to talk to me, see how their child's day is, and then somebody goes running. So I'm explaining to them it's a day where I have a lot, or a time in the day where I have a lot of safety concerns. I'm happy to talk to them, but they need to wait. Next thing that I explain is breakfast and lunch. If you have free breakfast and lunch, I would say that here. I also talk about if they send their child with home lunch, that they need to be able to open the bags and the containers independently. I also explain it's not that we don't want to help them, it's just that there's so many children and so many things going on. On our school supply list, we have a set of extra clothes that they send in for when they have accidents or when they're playing in the water fountain and their whole outfit is soaked. So here I explain that if they come home in the extra clothes and the clothes they were wearing that day are dirty, please send in a new set of extra clothes. That way, on the off chance that they have an accident, the day right after, we have another change of clothes to put them in. It's happened. I go over birthday celebrations. This is also where I mention if your family doesn't participate in celebrations, please let me know so I can plan an alternate activity. And then I also say, please don't send in a full cake. I don't want to cut that. There's too many things going on. Cupcakes, cookies, goodie bags, love them, but don't send in a full cake. I also allow parents to come into my classroom for birthday celebrations, but I let them know that they need to tell me a few days ahead of time. That way I can make sure our schedule's all worked out for it, because if they're not coming, sometimes the day just works better where we celebrate in the morning, or something happens and it's better if we celebrate right after lunch. But if they are coming, I can stick to a schedule because they're coming. Toys. I'm just very straightforward about this. Please do not let your child bring toys to school. We have them here. I tell the parents they can blame it on me when their child wants to bring something to school. Miss Jordan says you cannot bring toys to school. Snacks and water bottles. Here I explain no candy, no juice, soda, or tea. I would like to explain to them, please don't do that to me. Don't give them all that sugar and then expect me to teach them. But I normally say that if they spill their juice, soda, or tea, it gets all over their desk, it gets all over their books, it gets all over their supplies, and we don't want that. I also ask if they're able to, if they could send their waters with the straw lids, like the hydro lids where they lift up the mouthpiece and there's a straw, rather than a twist off lid, because sometimes they don't screw it back on all the way, or they thought they did it but it's not tight enough, and then the water spills everywhere. Next thing I talk about is shoelaces. For the same reason that we ask that they can open up all their lunch things by themselves. It's not that we don't want to help them, it's that there's too many things going on. Next thing I talk about is the bathroom. One thing that I have in my classroom is that if they're about to have an accident, they don't have to ask. They can just run out the door and go. I want parents to talk about this with their child at home. That way they're hearing it from two people. If you're about to have an accident, don't ask, just go. If the teacher's talking to somebody or they're busy and you're waiting to ask and you're about to have an accident, just go. And then I reinforce to the students that I will not be mad at them when I see them running out the door. I know they're going to the bathroom and that everything will be okay. And I want the parents to explain that to them too. I briefly go over report cards, not in depth. I explain that it's just a way for me to show the parents how their child's progressing and learning skills, and that it's not a measure of their effort. It's just where they are, so please don't shame their child if they're not happy with something on the report card. I also let them know that if I have academic concerns, I will be calling them before the report card comes home. So if they have a concern on the report card, they don't need to be terribly concerned, because I would have called them already if something was wrong. But of course, if they are concerned, they can call me. Next thing I go over is the homework binder. It's a very important thing in my classroom because it's the thing that goes home every day. It's how I communicate, one of the main ways that I communicate with parents. I explained to them that they should not put things in the backpack because I don't check backpacks. I check homework binders. So rather than just putting it in the backpack, it needs to go into the homework binder and then the homework binder goes into the backpack. I also asked them that they label all money forms, book orders, etc. with their child's name. That way I know who it belongs to, and that if they're sending in money, it needs to be in an envelope or a plastic bag, or I've had parents staple it, just something so that it's not loose money around. Next thing I talk about is homework. I explained to them that in kindergarten they need an adult to do it with them and to sit next to them because it's reading practice. The adult needs to be there to make sure they're reading it correctly. It's not like when you have an older child and you can just say, you need to sit down and do your homework right now, and you go cook dinner or do laundry. The adult needs to be sitting next to them. I also explained to them that homework is not for a grade, it's just for extra practice. Here's where I would give some homework examples. If you know how to take a screenshot of the homework or take a picture and insert it, I would insert it here. Or if you don't know how, just having a physical copy that you hold up works just as well. Like I said, I don't go too in depth with it. There's so much information that I'm giving them today that they'll have an opportunity to learn about it later. If you do digital homework, I'd explain it now. And then I emphasize that if you didn't do the homework, don't sign that you did. The reason why I emphasize this so straightforward is because I use it for data. So I explain to the parents, if I'm practicing with them 14 days in a row at school and I see in their homework that they've practiced 14 days in a row at home and their child still isn't getting it, then that is a sign to me that we need to change the strategy of what we're doing to help the child understand that skill. However, if they've practiced 14 times, well, maybe not 14, but a lot of times with me at school, and it appears that they've practiced a lot of times at home, I'm going to think that we need to change what we're doing, when in fact, if they weren't practicing all that many times, it might just be that they need more repetition and practice and not a whole new strategy. Next, I go into how we are a team, that they should come to me if they have any concerns or worries, no matter how small they are. And then I explain the different ways that I communicate with them. I use the Remind app. It's my favorite thing. I screenshot the page where it shows them what they text to sign up right then and there. I give them an opportunity to do this right then, but then at the end of my presentation, I also give them the handout that they can take home with them. I explain to them that when they text me through Remind, that it does not go to the whole class, that it comes just to me. I also have a survey that I give them at the end that asks if they check their email regularly. Email is one of the easiest ways for me to communicate with them, but if they don't check their email or they don't have one, I don't want to be counting on that. So this lets me know which families I need to make sure I'm sending the message home in the binder rather than email. I also ask if their child has an electronic device that they can do school assignments on. I do emphasize that they do not need a device, that I'm just taking a survey, but perhaps maybe every child in my class does have one. So I will look for activities that use it, or maybe the majority of them do. So I will have some optional activities where they can use it. So that's the reason why I send home this survey, because it lets me know my options for assignments and projects throughout the year. If you have any updated information about school supplies, I would put it right here. You might notice that I'm putting all the things where they have to act on them right now at the end. All the information stuff kind of went in the middle or the beginning. Anything that I really need them to remember or do, like make sure you send in this on the first day of school, is happening at the end. Then I talk about how I am about to pass out some forms. Please use your nicest, neatest handwriting, because if your phone number is not written in a way that I can read it, I won't be able to get a hold of you or your email. Then at my school, actually this year, there are no parents allowed on campus. And we've learned that the kindergartners need something with their name and their teacher, either on their shirt or on their backpack. So I pass that out then and I explain why. Um, why is so that the adult who gets them when they get dropped off knows where they should go, especially because kindergartners are so new to school and they're not used to speaking up. This is probably one of my favorite slides, which just gives me comfort when I'm changing things throughout the year, is I explain to parents that I'm always learning, always growing, always researching, always trying to be the most efficient. So when something's not working or I learn how to do something better, I'm going to change it. And just to expect that, if I didn't explain a new change well, please ask me. That way I can help you. And then also it lets me know that maybe other parents aren't understanding it as well. And so when you let me know, you're really helping everybody. Then I thank them for coming and pass out the forms, and I stick around for any questions.